Well, welcome everybody. And I am your host, Dr. Christopher Holmes, and you know exactly where you are. You are watching the Black Doctors Talk podcast. I'm so excited to have how can I say this? Simply phenomenal, amazing guest for you. And you're saying, okay, well, Dr. Holmes, you always say that about these people, but do I ever disappoint you? No. This young lady is amazing. I can't wait for her to share with you. And she goes by the name of Dr. Doreen M Hatcher. Guys, this woman, she's going to blow your socks off. She's doing great work. And I hope that she's going to give you some gems that are really going to help you on your journey, as many of us are either in the doctorate or trying to achieve the doctorate. Welcome, Dr. Hatcher.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, what a setup.
I'll send you my Cash App later. So, Dr. Hatcher, we know that you are a university administrator, and I love that you are doing that. We often talk to professors, but the administration side is just as important as the actual lecturer professor role. So we're going to talk about that. But before we dive deep into that work, we've got to kind of go back a little bit. And so I want you to start and tell us, where does this all begin for you?
Well, again, thank you for having me here on the podcast. Going back, I learned from one of my advisors in my program that, when you're introducing yourself, to also acknowledge your different identities. So, beyond being the obvious Black woman, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, aunt, cousin, not a grandma yet. I've talked to my daughter about that, still working on it. But, and for me, it just goes back to my family. My parents were teen parents. And I was a couple months old sitting on my mom's lap at my dad's high school graduation. And so I grew up with my parents and didn't really realize that my parents were young, and was mortified in the first or second grade when they went to the Jackson 5 concert, because old parents don't do things like that. So yeah, I grew up with them. Education was always important to them. I was a good student, very interested in learning. My grandmother said my first word was probably why, because I'm always inquisitive and asking questions. The assumption was that I would go to college. Nobody, I think, ever really told me that. It was just something that I thought I was supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So I was a first-gen college student, wanted to get as far away from El Paso, Texas as I could. And I was heading west to University of Arizona, and my dad broke down the difference between in-state and out-of-state tuition. So then I headed east to Austin. Best choice I ever made. I'm a Longhorn, graduate at the University of Texas at Austin with a journalism degree, because ever since I was 6 years old, I always wanted to write and be a journalist. And then life happens, and that's a soap opera lifetime story, so I won't get into that. But when I was working at a university, it was the only job I could get at the time. So I'm a college degree, and I'm a senior secretary. And again, like I said, there were some circumstances that, you have to wait till the book comes out to read. And so I'm just kind of moving up. And I get into an assistant director position, and we're at convocation, and the president asks all of the administrators to stand up. And I'm just sitting there. And my colleague next to me said, well, you need to stand up. And I said, why? And he said, because we're administrators. And I'd never heard that before. No one had ever referred to me as an administrator. No one had said, I always thought the administrators were the senior level president, vice presidents, my boss. So that's when I realized, hey, this is a career. It's not just a job. I could actually be an administrator. And so given the path that my life has taken, I've always worked at a university from that point, and I love it. When I tell my stories to students, I get asked to speak in the higher ed graduate programs, or speaking to, undergraduate students about being a university administrator and a career in higher education. I'm like, that was never my plan. I was supposed to be working for Oprah or Essence magazine and running my own publishing company. So, I just thank God for, the opportunities that come up. And I heard someone say that if you ever want to make God laugh, you tell him the plans for your life. So I'm very happy. And in terms of the doctorate, I didn't do this to be called doctor. And I say that with no disrespect to my colleagues. I know someone very dear to me that did do this so he could be called doctor. But that was necessary for his field. And I'm referring to the other Dr. Hatcher, my husband. And so the opportunity just came up. And the more and more that I looked into what it really meant to get a doctoral degree and the difference between a PhD and the practitioner's, EDD degree, I was able to make it happen. And so now I'm rocking and rolling, and I was a closet nerd. And so now I can say proudly that, I love data, I love reading, I love writing. And so that's where I am now. I'm happy in the role that I'm in now. It was effective July 1st. And we have a new vice president coming on. So I'm just excited about the opportunities that are coming to continue on this downward slide of my career, which I'm just excited to still be at a university and still hoping to do more work.
So when you think of the title administrator, what does that mean to you? I love the laugh.
It means a lot of behind the scenes. We're here all year long. When school is out, so to speak, I have people every year telling me, "Oh, so what are you going to do during the summer?" I'm like, "I work." Until recently, I mostly did orientation. I was one of my programs that I oversaw, and so every summer, I'm like, "I work." My summer break is, Christmas. It's in December. That's it. So, we do a lot of work. We facilitate. We do the co-curricular work, especially being in student affairs. You have the everybody's here to learn and get an education. And what we do in student affairs is help to support that with, activities outside of the classroom, supporting the mental health and well-being of students, all of their needs, basic needs, insecurities, things like that. So it's work. It's like being in a corporate space, but not really, because, it's a not-for-profit and you're not making the corporate money. And, you're here at a very important time for young people who are getting to know who they are. They're growing, they're learning that, this major is not what I wanted to do and I'm going to change it, or, oh, I never thought about this opportunity or whatever. So it's really cool. And I'm still in touch with students who I met 25 years ago that, and I've seen them get married and have kids. And so still being a part of their lives, I don't know. I mean, if you took this away from me, I don't know what I would do. So, being administrator is, carrying out the mission of the university, and in this case, student affairs.
Let me ask you this. I had a conversation just recently with someone, and we were talking about how higher ed needs to really develop the mindset of treating these students as customers, because they're paying for a service. And so when I hear you speak about student affairs, I hear a customer service aspect. How do we help all universities understand that they have a responsibility to serve the students, especially in some of the capacities that you spoke of as it relates to mental health and safety and security?
So here's an example of something that we did here at Cal State Channel Islands. We have a process until the federal laws changed for students who receive financial aid. They were able to defer their orientation fee payments until their financial aid was, posted to their accounts. But if a student didn't get the financial aid, or if they left the university, they were being billed for the orientation fee. And it was part of the policy, it was part of the procedure, it was everything the students needed to see. And we had a system where we were recruiting these students, did everything we could to get them here, to make sure they felt safe and secure, knowing that they made the right choice. Circumstances happened and they left. And then we were like, well, we're sending you to collections because you owe us money.
Wow.
And so I worked with my colleagues to say, hey, this is not cool. What if these students, have brothers and sisters or cousins that might want to come here? If they left because they couldn't afford to come here, now we're telling them that they still owe us money, and you're sending an 18-year-old to collections for, $150. And then some of them didn't know, because if they're not a student, they weren't checking their emails. And so they've already started community college, and October comes and they're getting this letter in the mail. So to me, that was a disconnect between the service aspect, so to speak, and still keeping the student front and center and helping, the other home, because they might come back. They might come here as a transfer student. So we worked on just eating that debt, and then changing the process to where, we just absorbed that debt. And that was an example. You went from being a university to going to these hard and fast business practices, and that wasn't still a holistic approach. It wasn't healthy for the students, and it was a bad look for the university, in my opinion.
That's a perfect example, actually. That's perfect. And so with that being said, and with that being such a great example, and I'm sure you have multiple others, what have you learned about yourself as an administrator?
So, because of the way that I've kind of worked my way up through the ranks, I am a very hands-on person, and I don't mean a micromanager. I will do it. I will answer the phones. I will move tables. Yesterday, I was on this desk changing my vent. I'll just do everything. And so I had a team once that told me that I needed to direct and be the director and let them do their work. And like I said, it wasn't about micromanaging. It was just, I need to be on the field. I need to be on the dance floor, as that expression goes. And I've had to learn that it's okay to be on the balcony, to be in the coach's booth and watch and let, folks do their work and take on some other responsibilities. So that's been hard for me. Again, I'm not a micromanager. I just, it's like the player coach mentality, like you're on a rec league and you're the coach, but then you're still out there playing. Yeah. And I've had to learn that it's okay for me to not do that.
And that's hard, right? I think sometimes because of the position, and now you have the degree, it's not expected that somebody in some people's mind of your caliber would be willing to do what they would call the boots on the ground types work, right?
And that's something, I have my name in my, my title and my name on Zoom and things. And that was hard for me to even get used to as well, saying that, because I was the same person the day before. I was, I defended my dissertation, but then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait, no, you've got this other level of respect. And that mostly came from faculty, which just, was mind boggling for me. So it's taken a year. I graduated last year, and it's taken a year for me to sit with that and to put that on and feel comfortable with it on. And, like you said, it's, I tell people, hi, I'm Dr. Hatcher, but you can call me Doreen, just from the beginning, but I've gotten better at that. And, my student assistant, I'm dragging this thing down the hall and down the stairs, and she's like, do you need help? I'm like, no. But again, it's just, that's another thing too, as a Black woman, it's like, I can do this myself. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to handle it. So that's been hard. That's been really hard. And to, again, differentiate that between helping and being in the mix versus micromanaging. I don't do that. I mean, even right now, I'm sitting in this office. I'm in the vice president's suite. I have no direct contact with students for the first time in my career, so I'm like real administrator now.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a change. And so I have to intentionally make those interactions with students.
I was just about to say, but you'll work it out. And I love the idea now, though, as you would say, a real administrator, you can make it what you want to make it. Like you
Exactly.
create your own lane. And so, yeah, there have been people, prior to you that have done it a certain way, but there's nobody like Dr. Doreen Hatcher. And so when you leave, they're going to say, well, when Dr. Hatcher was here, she did this and she did that. And you're going to set a whole new stage and a whole new precedence for what administrators look like.
I received that. Thank you very much. This is a new position. It's been reinvented. Usually the special assistant has taken on other roles and supervisory positions, but now, I mean, it's just me. So I'm excited for our new vice president to start, Dr. Ebony Ford Turnbow. And I'm just excited. She's going to be the first Black woman administrator on the president's cabinet here at our university. So I'm just excited to see what she gonna do and be right there with her.
Yeah, it's like a good time to be in that position, right? Like y'all are gonna make history together.
I'm looking forward to it. Yeah.
So I know you talked about what led you to the doctorate. You had an opportunity, you kind of did your research, and it seemed like the right thing to do. Now, this question is, what got you to the finish line?
So I did the educational leadership program at Fresno State here in California, and it was 100% online. We had a couple of residencies and that were supposed to be in person, but we only had 2. The last one we couldn't do in person because of COVID. And because it was online and everybody else turned to online eventually, we already had systems in place. It was a great program too, because it was, we took one class at a time. So it was kind of an accelerated pace. But we were able to focus on it. So that played a big factor in me getting through the program. The fact that it was online, I didn't have to drive anywhere. I was in Zoom meetings in my car at my daughter's softball practices. I was in the stands at track meets, reading articles. I was even studying for my comp exam at a Super Bowl party. I mean, it was just, it was so flexible. It was so helpful. What got me through? Music. I'm a big is it audiophile? I like to listen to music.
Mm-hmm.
Prayer. I had an awesome cohort. I mean, everybody was just great. I had a lot of support from my children. Mm-hmm. My oldest is 28 and a half. Oh, God, she's gonna be 29. And she wasn't living with us, but she was, cheering me on. My 2 youngest, 12 and 15, my daughter, who's the youngest one, she would, say, hey, aren't you supposed to be doing homework? We would read together. I couldn't go places because I had to write or something, but, they were very supportive of it. So yeah, just a lot of support from my family. And then again, being the first gen, that was just a big deal to everybody in my family. So just a lot of support and prayer and encouragement.
And the sacrifice. And I heard you say it, but it's a lot. I mean, there will be places, as you said, that you just can't go. And if you do go, guess what's coming with you? A book, your computer, like you're doing something. You're not just sitting there idle. And so for those that are watching that are in it and you're trying to get through that last chapter, continue to push through and sacrifice, but there has to be something that's going to get you there. And so, like
Yeah.
you had
I mean,
cheerleaders, literally.
yeah, I mean, the courses, I mean, it was online, but I'm old school and I printed everything. I killed trees. And it was because I needed to be able to have stuff with me and not rely on my battery died or whatever. So so then I started having these notebooks and I had like these like 5-inch binders. And so I would, save stuff for classes, put things away. So when it came to comps and then when it came to start the research, I was able to already start putting some things together and building out my library. And something else too, I would say, is technology. I mean, I was able to use tools like Zotero to start saving articles and categorizing them as I went through classes. And then Grammarly was one of my best friends. But yeah, the technology also helped a lot too.
Now you would have driven me crazy because I am a tech, like no paper.
I saw you about the trees. I'm sorry.
Oh my God. My wife does that. She prints out everything. And I'm like, sweetheart, there is another way to do this. She's like, no, I need to have it. And so she's like you, she's got all these binders and folders. And I mean, we bought so much ink. I'm like, this is crazy. So no, I'm like you on the different realm. I wanted it all, but I was all like filing things through the cloud. I did not want it.
Yeah. No, I mean, I did a good hybrid. And then, I still, especially with Zotero, when I was doing my, actually doing my writing, a lot of the stuff was electronic.
Yeah.
But I had to, when I was sorting through things and printing different things out with different classes, that's how I was categorizing them. Because I'm also a very visual person. I had a whiteboard at home. I was writing stuff on the board, color coded. Everybody would walk by and I'm like, what is that? I had post-it notes on the wall.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was a combination of new versus old school.
Yeah. And I think you said something important. You said as you went through classes, you began to organize those articles and stuff. For everybody that's going through, listen, that work should be intentional because you should be trying to use it again later on.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I did too, in terms of just as you're going through the process, I went in thinking, okay, I'm going to do a mixed methods on transfer students and the difference between non-traditional, post-traditional transfer students and native juniors. And I just was like, because it all fit in with my work. Mm-hmm. Took that quantitative class. Quantitative, no, we ain't doing that. And then I was interviewed by a graduate student and asked me about, student development theory or something. And I'm like, well, again, I didn't take the traditional higher education route in terms of my studies. So I was doing some reading and I came across nigrescence, which is the theory of becoming Black. And there's different phases of it. And so there was this like big epiphany that took place, epiphany. And I realized like, hey, I went through this. I'm still going through this. Yeah. So I did a 360 and completely changed my research focus. And up until the day I had to push the button on, what my methodology was and stuff, I was still struggling, but yeah, it's possible. And then another thing, like you said, what got me through, once I made that change, it became personal.
Yes.
And it was more of a journey for myself. And I had a vested interest in the research, and that made it fun. And I know somebody who's just starting is like, what do you mean fun? It made it fun. Yeah. Again, I'm a nerd.
I agree. I think
a blurred, I like to say.
Black nerd.
Yes. there's a whole organization. I haven't, jumped into it yet, but yes, that's exactly what that is.
I call myself a black academic. I'm a black academic.
See, that's another one. Yeah.
There you
Black
go.
academic.
Black academic. I don't steal it, anybody that's copywritten. I will sue you.
Hey,
Black
you got to cite your source, people.
Yeah.
Give credit where credit is due.
Oh man. God, you said so many great things just then. One of the things that I really resonated with is you came in with an idea, but you were open to change.
Oh, definitely.
And some people, they go in, I'm going to do this, and like, I'm not changing. I'm like, well, that sounds like a 10-year program to me.
Oh, no. Our program was 100% 3 years. When we started in our orientation, they said ABD is BAD. So, yeah, and it was, the work was kind of integrated in everything that we were doing. And one of the changes I think that they were making was that we were still held accountable because the coursework was still even happening in your last year.
Oh, wow.
In some programs, you do 2 full years of coursework and then you're on your own.
Yeah.
And I feel that that's another reason I was able to get through it because I was still working. I have friends that started programs year, 2, 3 years before me, and they haven't completed them because there was no accountability, with staying in the rhythm and staying in the groove. So, again, the Fresno State program, shout out, is an awesome program. I had an awesome advisor. She basically, I'm going to do the pitching it. I did a hermeneutic phenomenological study.
Yeah.
And that's what she did. And so she was basically like, here's my work. This is my model. And I'm like, great. And I ran with it. And happy to say that all the extra work that I put into doing something extra, I'm very extra. I was awarded a dissertation of the year, and then she was awarded advisor of the year. So we made a great team. She's still working with me. I just submitted a proposal for a paper, and she's still there for me and working with me. So that's Dr. Varaxi Yee. Yay!
Yeah, talk about that. And I don't think we talk about this enough about relationships. Yeah.
Yeah. So, because we weren't able to do our last residency in person, we had to find other ways to get a match. And so the first person that I was asking to be on my committee was my mixed methods, or I guess research studies instructor. And we really vibed and it was cool. But as I was shifting focus to researching Black women, having a white male on the committee wasn't really the right fit. So even being able to have that conversation with somebody to say, hey, I'm sorry, but, I have to make a change to my committee. That was hard.
Yeah.
But it happens and, they're cool with it. So, and then when I did get my chair, she wasn't anyone else's dissertation chair. She hadn't even done it before.
Oh, wow.
So we just clicked right from the beginning. Great team.
Yeah.
Great team.
I'm the same way. I still have great relationships with my whole committee, actually. But I know people that do not. And like you, she still mentors me to this day. We talk, we have lunch, and we collaborate on different things. And so I just think it's important to pick somebody that you like, that you believe in their work, and y'all have some similarity so that relationship does not disappear when the whole degree has been conferred, right? You need
them. Absolutely. And I mean, she told me, she said, you've got like 3 or 4 articles in this dissertation. And so even when I was doing this one proposal, she said, no, you need to focus on like one of your things so that you can continue to build out.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, never thought about that before. So going back to the beginning, as you had asked me about, journalism, I've always been a really good writer. I've always wanted to write. And so now my focus is just on, scholarship, academics, and telling stories of people who can't, speak for themselves. And I still want to keep working. My dissertation was on the experiences of Black women at Hispanic serving institutions. And I want to branch off on that. I want to do it on Afro-Latinas because they're in the zones, they're, like which way do they go?
Mhm.
And then also just on administrators as well, because that's been part of my struggle, not only as, the cultural taxation of being one of few Black people working with a few Black students, and then just also the place of being, one of few Black women at a Hispanic serving institution. And what does that look like?
It's just amazing
or feel like?
How I'm listening to you, and you just brought this up. You brought this to me in terms of my thoughts when you said in the beginning you wanted to be a journalist, and then you got on this long track how life almost seemed to divert you in a way away from that, and you got into administration and just got I don't want to say stuck there, but that is where you are. But how you came back full circle with the degree, and now here you are in an academic way, telling stories, doing what you ultimately wanted to do in the beginning, which is be a journalist. And I don't think people see those with the doctorate who are writing articles, who are really steeped in the work, as storytellers, but we really are.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to bring that out more in student affairs in terms of the stories that we tell, because faculty have to write, especially if you're tenure track. You have to, and you get time off to do that. We don't.
Yeah.
We've got to, if we're writing articles, and that's why I think a lot of us aren't doing it, is because we don't get that time off. We don't get the time to come to work and just sit and write. So I'm happy that I'm in this position. My former vice president recognized that in me. And so it is written into my job description to to do some research projects. And I shifted the way we collected data at orientation so that I can, it was my last one. And so kind of build a study out of that. And just really working with folks to say, hey, we got to tell our story in student affairs. There's a lot of us who have doctorates, and we're, they're coordinators and directors. And, so, okay, you went to school, you've got, and that's why I did it. I did it really so I can do the research and learn the tricks and the trades and what it was all about.
See, I told you, you're already carving out your own lane. You're just doing it differently. You're already doing it. You're already doing it. What would you consider your biggest accomplishment, personally or professionally? To this point, I would say it was this, getting my doctorate degree. It wasn't something that I thought of ever doing. Being in higher education, wasn't sure if I needed it because I wasn't teaching. So I got a lot of encouragement and support from others saying, hey, if you're thinking about it, having a great benefit with the CSU because, you get tuition waivers and, the planets and stars just started to line up. And, you can't, when God puts something in your path, it's there for a reason. And so I've grown a lot. And I would say not just because I achieved this, but I was able to still be there for my children. Yeah.
In the process, I was able to fight for my daughter to get tested, and she was diagnosed with a learning disability, so she was able to get the help that she needed, and now she's a straight A honors student in the 7th grade. My son, working with him, we found out he's on the spectrum, is Asperger's, so learning to cope. And so I'm always researching. I don't just go on Amazon and buy something. I have stuff that's sitting in a list that I have been researching, and it could be as simple as a phone charger. I research everything. And so, my house didn't burn down. My kids didn't fell out of school. I didn't get that many gray hairs. I did gain some weight. I call it dissertation weight, but that's going to come off soon because I'm focused on that now. But yeah, and it was all online too. I don't think people can really understand the challenge that is to do these programs online, which means I think I had a couple of classes that were purely asynchronous and you just had to do the work.
Yeah.
And I did my master's online too. So I'm a big fan of online education. So yeah, I mean, this is it right now. And just continuing to raise my kids to value education.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I did this, for them to see it. Their dad had it, when I met him. And so for them to see me go through this and, work ethic and making it a priority and I would say that's a great accomplishment. And I mean, my kids helped me through it in more ways than one.
Yeah, I would say it's a pretty good accomplishment as well. It's worthy of that.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. So what's next? So when this is over, you walk away from administration. What do you see yourself doing?
I want to write. I've been trying to figure out what to write about. The lifetime stories, I think, would just be too much for some people in my life. But I started thinking of my brother. My brother died right when I started the program. In fact, I had to, again, it was online. So I was in a hotel, in the process of getting back home for his funeral, doing work. And there are a lot of interesting stories about him. So I've decided that I want to write a story about my brother, a memoir about being his sister. I want to write about my kids. And, at one point I was looking for daycare, preschool, and universities at the same time, because there's 16 years between the oldest and the youngest, and 13 between the middle and the oldest. So that was another thing. Like, I was going to do a podcast, have time to do it. So yeah, I want to write. I want to, I actually called my dissertation work, my retirement plan, because I can be a consultant. I can, write articles. I want to stay busy. I want to keep my mind going. So, so yeah, that's what I'm sketching out right now.
Well, listen, the writing came back full circle.
It did.
Maybe Essence and Oprah are next. We're not throwing that out the window.
I'm working on the Susan Taylor look. She's got decades ahead of me, but
yeah, you're looking fine. You do Doreen Hatcher. Don't do Susan Taylor. I like this look. And let's just go back and I'll have to say this. You all heard her. She said she has a 28-and-a-half-year-old child. Black don't crack, people. Black doesn't crack. I don't care what anybody says. Melanin is magic. It is. And if you saw her, you wouldn't think she's 28. You would think that she's 15. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So
just some good. It's okay.
It's good genes. It's from my parents.
So you do know we have a conference coming up in Atlanta this year. Have you ever been to a BDN conference?
I got involved in virtual stuff. So I haven't been in person. I would love to have gone to Atlanta, but not able to attend that way. But I do my best to participate as much as I can in other things with the BDN. And looking forward to when the regional comes back out this way too.
Yeah. Regional, all of the conferences are great. So if you've never been, definitely get there in person. It's the energy and the vibe in the space.
Oh, I mean, just to be around Black scholars and educators and administrators and people,
people in period.
all with the same mindset and oh my gosh. No, I'm going to go. I'm going to be there one day.
Well, we enjoy having professionals and educators and scholars like you who are a part of the organization, who are very knowledgeable, but also very humble and down to earth, and so willing to be transparent and tell your story. And so thank you for joining me today. This has been an amazing interview. I told you we'll probably go a little bit longer. I know we could continue to talk forever, but I know you have things to do. But I really, really, really want to thank you for taking time out to talk with me today. You dropped some nuggets.
Thank you. And as always, I'm available to help out in any way that I can. And maybe one day I'll be where you are and talking to some people myself.
Okay, out of your mouth. Okay.
That's a other journalism thing, right?
There we go. There we go. Well, listen, you want them to go and follow you. So tell them how they can go and follow you and make contact.
Oh my goodness. Oh, I forgot about all that. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, Doreen M Hatcher. And I mean, that would be the easiest way to find me, and then all my other connections. I'm not big on Instagram. I'm in Facebook. So you can find me on Facebook as Doreen Wright Hatcher. It's WRIGHT. And yeah, see, now, Dr. Holmes, I'm going to have to be ready to be spitting all that out now. You can find me at.
Yes, you got to. Well, listen,
I have those links on my email.
Well, they can reach out to you on LinkedIn, make contact that way.
Yes, absolutely.
Sure
please
share all the other information as needed. If not, go to the website, go to the university website, go look her up. She's there, Dr. Doreen.
I think I'm the only Doreen here.
Yeah, well, you're definitely one of a kind. So even if the name is the same, it's not you. Well, listen, while you guys are going to follow Dr. Hatcher, please don't forget, go and follow us on all of our social media channels as well. We would love to connect with you and share with you and share more awesome, amazing talents like Dr. Hatcher. Now, come catch me next week. I'll be back. The Black Doctors Talk podcast. Please go and tell somebody, subscribe, share, like, tell people at your church, when you're in the grocery store, tell people in the meat section and the veggies, stay away from the sugar, no processed food, okay? But go and let people know we're here. We would love to have you join us. Until then, guys, I'll see you next time. As I always say, be safe, be blessed, peace out.